This thing goes just about like this. You got the Europeans, mainly the Dutch who started this, goes to Africa, they start trading, and they can't get past the beach without dying of something. The black women start taking to the liking to one of them and teaches them the ways and brings them into the interior, teaches them how to navigate the interior. As a result of such, the Europeans bring their custom of marriage in that says, okay, we married one of your daughters, so we need to be part of your community and we need to have a say and stuff like that because we get to say through her. All right. But then when they had their children, the children then became a full part of the community, but superior to the community at the same time. The children were the inroads to how they were able to go through and learn all these languages so that they could negotiate and figure out how to do this thing. You had the greed of the European and the desire for riches, which said that they wanted manual labor, but they didn't want to pay for it. And do like scripture says, a laborer is worthy of his hire. Right? All right. So basically, they wanted to, well, get free labor with no paying. They took their concubines, all right, because now, as a result of the beginning of the slave trade, the black women that went over, think about it, 2/3 of the people that came over on the ships were males. Understand this. No way did, if they weren't wanted labor, they're not going to get women for labor. Right? Most of the people that came over on the ships that was down there in the holes were males. Only 1/3 were females. And that's because the Caucasian males had wiped up most of these females. So by the time they got over here, the French, the Dutch, and the Spanish, and like I gave you the story of what happened to the Aztecs, Cortez ended up marrying or having as a concubine a woman that could speak the languages of the Portuguese and the Spaniards and the native languages. All right. So this is what they did. When they came in as friends and stabbed everybody in the back. When the Caucasians came and defeated everybody, they didn't defeat them in war. They defeated them because they were so dirty that they killed everybody through germ warfare, through diseases that they had never known. Take for instance like syphilis. It's a spirochete. It comes from sheep in Europe. So who's screwing sheep to start syphilis? Think about that for a minute. So as this stuff happens, now you got another thing that come in the way. As I told you before in another video when we covered how Montezuma figured that Christianity was close to their cannibalism religion because it's the same thing, only they do it for real, right? But in that video, one of the things we noted is this, that when I showed you my notes from geography, from my geography notes and stuff like that, and the history and why things were the way it was. What they did was they divided people based on color and your relation to even the Dutch, the Portuguese, and all of everybody did this except for one group. That's the English. What happened to black women for them to lose their status and cause us to forget their treachery, all right, was the English. Because this is what happened. And this is probably something that everybody is well aware of. The black woman has always sold out to get the trinkets and stuff that the Caucasians had, thinking that they would last forever. And they didn't. All right. They ended up even owning more slaves like they did. All right. And so what ends up happening is this. What ends up happening is this, that you have this Louisiana Purchase where, well, let's not even talk about the Louisiana Purchase, right? Let's stay on this for a minute. Let's stay on this for a minute. So all throughout history, rarely, if ever, were black women being raped as the way we saw it until probably the English took over. But the first part of the history of the slave trade, the black women were the concubines and wives of the traders. All right. Their offspring only start mixing in with the dark people in the United States after the Louisiana Purchase. Because as I talked about before in my research while I was in school, all right, that during the time when Napoleon owned the territories in the United States, they had the same policy as the Dutch and everybody else. All right, so understand this. Oh yeah, that's where you learn a lot of stuff in microbiology. All right, I'm gonna tell you, microbiology taught me the importance of the Bible. That's another story. I did a video about it. I'll probably have to redo that one. All right, but anyway, so here's the thing. These women were willing to destroy their culture, their lands, and everything to have these little trinkets, these little neat things. And you know why they wanted them? Because they wanted to make themselves better than the other Afro women. All right? They didn't care that they were under the Caucasian woman. They do now. Their only concern was to be better than the other people in the hood. You know, the same thing they teaches their sons to beat other children up if they don't got Jordans. If they do have Jordans, beat them up to take the Jordans off of them. That's where that mentality comes from. So they've been selling us out real bad from the beginning. All right. So now what happens? What happens now is they develop these high societies where they're living and mixing in with everybody, with the French culture, with the Dutch culture, with the Portuguese culture, with the Spanish culture. The United States starts winning these wars, the French-American War, the beef with England and stuff like that. All right. And this is why you will find that, especially when doubling down, many of the black women really don't have no heart when it comes to dealing with the Afro man. Is because deep in their DNA, they know that they have had the status of above everything. The only problem that they had was something called the Gullah Wars. The Gullah Wars were the Native and Aboriginal people getting together and fighting the English or the United States for rights and freedom, right? And they were winning. And see, the black woman made a miscalculation as to how strong the resolve of the good man is that could stay away from them. All right. And so when the English got the French territories, and to refresh your memories, the reason why they got the French territory was because Napoleon's army lost to the Haitians, which lost them the plantations in Haiti. And the reason why they lost to the Haitians, because the first thing that the Haitians did was got rid of that Christian religion that was keeping them weak. Oh, sort of like what's happening to the Afro men now. Remember, everybody that wants us to stay in the Christian religion is the black woman. They won't date you, do anything else. If you're a thug and go to church with them and hold their hand in church, you can have all the booty you want. But don't be a good man and stand on your own. They don't want that. They don't want strength in the Afro man because it's a threat to their power. Their power comes from the laws of the government that we're all forced to follow because, truth be told, we are still under slavery. Okay? So, now you got this stuff going on. All right, you have things going on. Hold on. So, what happens next? The English come in, they start winning, things go their way, they get the territory. And I start thinking that the Most High is using wickedness to punish the woman. Like I said about the thugs are a punishment to the black woman that kept choosing them. And if they chose this system and threw away the man, it's about time for them to pay for that. When they chose to be with these the French and all of that stuff and sell us out, when the English took over, they sold everybody out, and the next day they were the same to the English as any other so-called black person. So they went from having status under the French, under the Portuguese, under everybody, to now, because the United States was gaining in power, they went from having status, throwing it up in the dark people's face, which they still did, the brown paper bag at the universities and all of that stuff, that only allowed the light-skinned people in that could pass the brown paper bag test. Oh yeah, the HBCUs is wicked in a lot of this too. But when the English got this, understand this, when the English got the French territories overnight, they went from all up mixing with the Caucasian people to, okay, all right, the party's over, time for y'all to get the hell out. What? But this is our home. No, you're black now. No, we're mixed. No, if you have one drop, you're black. And English at the time, or the United States did not tolerate miscegenation. That is, um, black women with white men. The men got in trouble. All right, white woman with black men, the women and the man got in trouble. Do you know who never really suffered any consequences for screwing everybody?